Story 1. My husband, 29, and I, 30 female, are currently expats living abroad. We recently welcomed our first child infant. My mother, 50, has been staying with us for 3 weeks to help and support us through this stage. A few days ago, my mother-in-law, 67, informed me that she and my father-in-law, 70, would be arriving in 6 days to surprise my husband for his 30th birthday and meet their grandchild. Mother-in-law insisted I not tell my husband about their visit, which would ruin the surprise. They've thoroughly planned and booked their trip without consulting me or my husband on timing, plans, etc. My mother will leave 2 days after their arrival, and my husband is working weekends for additional income, so I will be alone with them for most of their visit. My in-laws are elderly, so I don't expect help with our newborn. We were anticipating his parents would visit eventually, but expected a break in between having our parents here, and would have planned it so my husband would be off work during their visit. I must add that we're not close to his parents, having a very limited relationship with them due to their past actions and behavior during our wedding. We've had to put boundaries up to protect our family. My husband is the middle child, so he's always felt neglected by his parents and considered himself the least favorite child. Under different circumstances, this surprise, flying halfway around the world for his birthday, could be viewed as a grand gesture. However, my husband and I are exhausted and sleep-deprived. My husband mentioned he was looking forward to having some alone time since everything has been so hectic since the baby arrived. Today, I decided to tell my husband that his parents would surprise him for his birthday in 2 days. He immediately looked stressed, but understood why I decided to tell him. He said he would act surprised when they arrived, but he hadn't said anything about their visit since our talk and went to sleep early. My mother-in-law messaged me asking if my husband knew they would be surprising him, and I said he was still unaware. Am I the idiot for ruining the surprise? Honey, your husband needs a heads up so he can mentally prepare himself. And you both get ready for damned house guests that are going to show up out of nowhere on their doorstep. Most people aren't guest ready, not for overnight, especially not sleep-deprived parents. I'm sorry, but your relationship and promise to your mother-in-law are less important than your relationship with your husband. Your loyalty is to him. You are not the idiot. Yeah, I definitely need a heads up to mentally prepare myself if I have guests coming over for the weekend. Plus, there are things like getting the guest room ready, buying extra food, and ensuring I have the weekend off when you have guests. There shouldn't be any surprise visits to the new parents. There are times when surprises are unwelcome, and this is one of them. It would be a shame, I say, if Opai's husband took her and baby away for a couple of days. As a surprise, he had planned for his birthday as a treat for them both. And since Opai's husband knew nothing about an impending surprise visit from anybody, there is absolutely no reason they couldn't take a spur-of-the-moment weekend to an Airbnb. And since Opai wasn't supposed to spill the beans. Lol. Genius. Sorry, mother-in-law, father-in-law, I guess you're gonna have to get a hotel. Our trip is non-refundable. Whoopsie. I have a firm rule that nobody gets to decide what I keep from my husband. I believe your mother-in-law doesn't get to decide that for you. It would have been different if she'd said, we have a surprise, but you can't tell your husband. Can you keep it a secret, before telling you what it was? But to say, this is happening, but you can't tell him, is different to me. Add on the fact that the surprise is a visit, inviting themselves, possibly staying with you, during an exhausting time. Heck no, your husband deserves to be warned. My boyfriend, 31, has a tween son. He has his son every week and every other weekend. Lately, I, female 28, been wanting to ski. We live in New Jersey and our friends have a house in the Poconos. Initially, we would go the weekend of the 17th when my boyfriend didn't have his son. Now we have the option to use the house on the weekend we have him if we so choose on the 24th. I'll be blunt. His son constantly whines and doesn't appreciate anything, although his father spoils him. He's extremely immature for his age, and I feel bad for getting bothered by it at times because he does have ADHD. I wanted to include him, so I asked my significant other if he thought he would like skiing. My significant other told me he spoke with his son, and he seemed uninterested in the trip, and even a tad scared. He'd rather play video games. So I told him we should just go the weekend he doesn't have him since he wouldn't even like it, and the weekend away is solely about skiing. My significant other is now trying to make me feel bad, saying it's wrong if we go away without him. And is this how it's going to be when we move in together? Keep in mind we took him to Hershey and Kalahari and planned trips for him, which he didn't even seem to care about. Am I the idiot? The only trip that your boyfriend wants to go on is a guilt trip. He doesn't want to go skiing. You are not the idiot. You did nothing wrong, and it sounds like you were thoughtful in trying to open your boyfriend's son to new experiences. Son sounds understandably nervous, and a better father would take him to the snow to get him used to playing with it. Save skiing for another time. Son will spend half his life on his Switch if dad actively dissuades him from participating in life. Do they both have anxiety? OP. Take it from someone slightly older. This is just a preview of what your relationship will be like in the coming years. Maybe it's helpful to set up some protocol with your boyfriend to make sure you're both on the same page regarding interacting with his son. Clarifying these aspects in general may save you lots of energy. But you realize they're a package deal, right? Do you hope to spend the rest of your life with someone whose kid you hate? You already think he spoils his kid. It's how it's going to be if you move in together. You'll be a stepmom to a kid you don't like with a father you don't like. So why are you? Is this relationship sustainable? Reading this story, it's crystal clear that you should not be dating someone with a child at this point in your life. My wife, 29, and I, 28 male, were lucky enough to receive major help with buying our first house as a wedding gift from my wife's parents. They paid a down payment of 50%, and we paid the monthly mortgage. Her parents are very well off, each making over $250,000 each year. They don't have to continue to work, but they often travel for a good 8 weeks of the year and in general want to continue to work for a few more years to support their lifestyle. My parents, however, live a more modest life. They can pay for what they need and a lot of what they want and own a small house in a rural area. My in-laws live a 15-minute drive from our house. Part of the down payment gift was ensuring we remain close to them. My wife and I expect our first child together in May and are super excited. We've started to discuss childcare options, and in our city, a spot in a baby room at a legit daycare is almost $2,000 a month. My parents knew about this struggle, and my mother offered to stay and watch our baby once we've run out of maternity leave. The baby will probably be under a year. They, however, live over 2 hours from where we are, so I offered them the bedroom and washroom in our finished basement. My father's workplace would be less of a commute from our place than where they live now. So in this idea, my parents would live with us while my mother provided free child care. This would save us a lot of money and ensure they have an active role in their grandchild's life. However, when we told my in-laws about it, it was awkward. And then later my wife came to me telling me that they weren't comfortable with us letting my parents live for free in a house they paid for. She said they offered to help pay for childcare if that was an issue. I feel they don't have a say in what we do with our house considering it was a gift. We're very thankful, of course, but I don't think we owe it to them to not let my parents stay with us. I also think it's unfair since they'll be 15 minutes from their grandchild and could see them every day. While if my parents stay where they live now, they'll see our child a few times a month max. Am I the idiot? Edit to add, I of course discussed this with my wife before involving either of my parents. We agreed prior to the conversation with her parents. Now we're a bit nervous, her more so than me. We're also both women. We're a lesbian couple. I'm the one carrying the child, not the idiot. Either the house was a gift or it wasn't. If it's a gift, then it's your house, and you can choose what you do with it. If your in-laws want authority over who lives there, it isn't your house, it's theirs, and you're just paying rent. Your in-laws are using a gift as a way to control how you live. That's manipulative behavior. It's your house, period. Would they have a say in your marriage if they paid for the wedding? If they buy you dinner, would they tell you what to order? No, because a gift is a gift. It doesn't buy them a vote in what you do. Your wife needs to stand up to her parents and make sure this doesn't set a precedent with them for future control. So charge your parents $2,000 in monthly rent, then pay them $2,000, both amounts under the table, for babysitting. Then they no longer live there for free. OP, please don't let them keep you from doing what's best for your family, especially your baby once it's born. It may be time to talk with them about their behavior, e.g., their expectation of control when paying for things. It seems to me like it's less about the house and more that they're willing to pay to ensure the other grandparents don't have more time than they do. Living together will automatically give OP's grandparents more time with the baby, which makes them uncomfortable. Having your parents move in would anger the in-laws, but it also sends a clear signal that they can't use their money to boss you around. It seems like a fight worth having. My boyfriend, 27, and I, 25, moved in together 3 months ago, and we're still trying to compromise on how things should be done around the house. I usually do the cooking because I come home before he does. I've had to beg him to help clean up the kitchen when we were done eating. It just makes sense to me that if one person is cooking a meal for both of us to eat, then the other person should clean up. I've noticed that when he's emptying the dishwasher, he mixes up the utensils. We have a drawer organizer and a section for all the utensils. Butter knives go with butter knives, teaspoons are sorted with teaspoons, forks with forks, etc. He puts the big spoons with little spoons and the big forks with the little forks. I asked him if he could separate the teaspoons and the tablespoons when putting away the utensils. He responded with, "No, I don't care. I'm not wasting my energy and brain power on separating spoons." Now I have to go behind him and fix the utensil drawer after he puts away utensils. I want to know if I'm being dramatic. There's a space for each utensil category in the drawer organizer. It makes sense to put all the same utensils in the same spot instead of mixing them. It's not the end of the world if the utensils are mixed together, but at the same time I feel like if you're going to do something, then just do it the right way from the beginning. Now I have to clean up after him after he's already cleaned up. He doesn't want to waste his energy and brain power. My, there must be quite a shortage of it if he has to be so careful in choosing when to dole it out. This simple, polite act requires near zero effort and near zero intelligence. Why are you with this guy? What happens when you ask him to do something that requires effort or critical thinking skills? I'm usually the one to empty the dishwasher, and I'm puzzled by the brainpower deficit he is experiencing. Nothing could be simpler than separating big spoons for smaller spoons. Same with forks of larger and smaller sizes. He's right that he doesn't care, but he's also lazy and stubborn. Buy a cheap package of chopsticks for him to use and hide the rest of the flatware. He's welcome to dump all identical chopsticks in the same bin if he likes. Doesn't he know how to use chopsticks? I guess he'll need to find some energy and brain power to figure it out. I have it better. My partner's suggestion, pretend you don't care and serve him soup with a teaspoon. Then he serves his parents dinner with dessert forks, steak with a butter knife. If he says anything, remind him that it's a waste of brain power. Opie, it sounds like weaponized incompetence. He's hoping you will take over the chore. Yes, it totally is. He's doing so in a way that knows it's annoying for her with the hope that she will stop asking him and do it herself. Opie is definitely not the idiot, but the boyfriend is for sure. And this is why living with a significant other before marrying them is a great idea. It's better to find out how obnoxious they are to live with before you legally bind yourself to them. My dad's exact words to me, a woman, you should always try it before you buy it. I, female teen, have a younger brother, young teen, and a younger sister, tween. My siblings are both on the autism spectrum. My brother is worse. He's more prone to outbursts and breaks stuff frequently. My sister is nonverbal, but sometimes when the world gets too much for her, she can end up spiraling and breaking stuff. I don't feel like my parents do enough to prevent the damage or to help protect stuff. My things are broken way too frequently, and nothing I do will protect them 100% of the time. It took until I was 12 for my parents to agree to buy me a lock for my door. My brother broke the lock on my door within 3 months of my parents buying it. They took 11 months to replace it and gave me attitude over the whole thing. But they also give me attitude for my siblings' destruction in my room. They never help me clean it up. They expect me to be responsible for that. And more often than not, they say they can't rebuy something or refuse to, saying I need to take better care of my stuff. I'm on my third laptop, and my grandparents bought the last two. My closet has hardly anything in it because my clothes get destroyed. My bed was broken a couple of times. The same goes for posters in my room being torn, and even my homework being destroyed by the hurricane my brother can be. My mom gave my sister my favorite cup, and it got broken. My grandparents bought it for me when I was 5, and it made me so sad to lose it. Then Dad expected me to wash his car for him after my brother covered the whole thing in paint. I'd already done a lot of cleanup in my room that day on top of my chores. I'm at a point where I can't be around my siblings without becoming frustrated, and I know it's not their fault, so I don't want to lose it with them. But I will if I'm around them, and resentment has probably built. My parents are on my case about spending more time with my siblings and being a better sister the way I was 5 years ago. I also don't have the love and respect for my parents normally expected from kids. Then a couple of weeks ago, my parents wanted my help. They wanted to do some work around the house and wanted me to take part in entertaining my siblings and swapping and doing some of the work. I refused to help them, and they accused me of making life more difficult. I told them they didn't deserve for me to make life easier. They don't deserve my help. I told them they had taken so much out on me when I had no control, and they did. I told them I didn't think they'd done enough. Every gift is the start of punishment because they'll only call me irresponsible when one of my siblings breaks it. I told them they expect so much from me, yet won't put the work in to protect me or help me. My parents told me it was an awful attitude to have, and they're humans doing their best. They yelled at me for so long that I could hear it all in my sleep that night, and things have been even more difficult ever since. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'm so sorry, honey. Your childhood has been sacrificed to the needs of your siblings. You need to leave that house ASAP, whether asking your grandparents or other family if you can stay with them, or hanging on until you go to college. Fair warning, your parents will likely expect you to take care of your siblings once they get older. My grandparents know everything that's been going on. We talked about it, and they even asked my parents if I could live with them, but my parents said no. My extended family is also aware. Most of the family knows they can't have anything worthwhile on them around my brother especially. Our household is not deemed unsafe by CPS. Just make it to 17, dude. If you're in the U.S., you can leave home at 17, mainly because the courts won't take a 17-year-old to court since the case can take months, which is a waste of time since you'll be 18 before it's done. I received that advice from the police and a CPS caseworker. They know that legally your home can't be deemed unfit, but that doesn't make it an okay environment. Thanks for listening.